I'll use the lending money thing that I got myself into. I knew it was a mistake. I felt it with every cell in my body, but I wanted to be the hero. I wanted to be the good guy. And there was a dynamic in my family growing up where, it was like, she's just like her father. She's just like her dad. And my dad was always the bad guy. Everybody thought my dad was the bad guy. Now I've gotten older and I'm like, maybe he wasn't the bad guy after all. And it's interesting because it actually brought me to find a real kind of healing with my dad. But it was me constantly trying to compensate and not be the bad guy. Mm-hmm. Look, I'm not the bad guy. Look, I'm the hero. Look, let me save your day, which never worked. And I did it over and over and over again. Until this last go round where I made such a massive mistake playing it out and it backfired so badly that I had to really look at myself and be like, all right, I knew it. Once again, right? Trust your guy. I knew not to do it. Why did I do it? Because I wanted to be like the hero, the savior, the good guy. Why did I want to do that? And then it kind of comes back to that sort of childhood ego state of like, look, mom, I'm really a great kid. Look at all the things. Look, I share my candy. Look, all that deep shit that should have been worked through and played out negatively. Whereas, sometimes you have to learn the hard way. I am in therapy and I've learned a lot from therapy.
I love therapy. You don't need to justify it in any kind of way. I have 1 to 2 therapists at all times.
Okay, I mean, it saved me from a lot of those mistakes. But some of them I end up having to make the hard way. I was like, I've got to let whatever is sitting on my chest with all of this go. And it's like the way they say, being angry and holding a grudge is drinking poison and hoping the other person dies.
Right.
And I used to hear it all the time and be like, yeah, that's cute. But like, I'm not Jesus. So that's a great, love your whole, sounds good, but I'm just not that big of a person. And I couldn't figure out, right, if something is antagonizing you, actively antagonizing you, like if there's a wasp stinging you on the arm, how do you not get pissed at that? How do you not? And for some reason, this thing with my back made everything else seem like nothing. You're going to do this, and normally this would drive me crazy. And instead, I was like, I don't even care. I surrender. Go do that. Do it. You're the winner. I give up. I surrender. And I was able to, for the first time in my life, realize that whatever shit we hold on to, really, I felt the poison of drinking it for the first time. And now I'm 99% of the time now, whatever it is. And it did also help me kind of reconnect with my dad after 30 years.
Interesting.
I was like, life is way too short for this shit, man. Doesn't mean you can't have boundaries. You need you obviously, right? Like you have your boundaries. But the bitterness and the anger, I try to let it just.
When I finally let go of things, wanting to be a certain way, wanting them to be a certain way, or expecting something, trying to make a difference. When I finally just accept things for what they are, where they're at, and be at peace with that, or at least just accept that. It doesn't mean it's peaceful. It just means that it's just the way it is. Yes. It's amazing how on the other side of that shift, they actually just start to change in the way that I had always hoped. It's like the weirdest thing. It's like we hold on to this energetic imprint with our opinion of them. It almost like it almost reinforces it.
Yes.
It perpetuates it. And as soon as you let go of that pattern, then all of a sudden the pattern actually starts to change within the other person. Have you noticed that?
Okay. I just went through this with my daughter, and this kid broke me in half. I'm serious. No one's officially broken me in half until this kid. This kid, in conjunction with the stuff going on.
First, right?
Well, I got them at the same time, so she's technically
you
older,
adopted as well, right? So is it the adopted?
The adopted child, my daughter. Yeah. So technically, I adopted my son, but my ex had him, and because God, if there is a God, has an amazing sense of humor. It all happened at the same time.
Right.
So this kid is just very much like, I do what I want. And, some of those things, I do what I want, as a parent, you're like, oh shit, you just, it's like, you're going to do real damage, like things I can't undo for you. And the world is a very different place than when I was a kid. I do what I want could be like, I'm going to experiment with drugs. Well, all right, you might have a bad night. You might throw up all night long, but as long as you didn't get in the car, you know what I mean? No one died. You live. Now there could be a grain of fentanyl on whatever the hell that is. And it's like, you're dead. It's over. It's finished. It's not baby laxative in that anymore, dude. It's like night, night. You will die. She's not doing drugs. She's very young. But my point is, some of these decisions, some of these things that they get into, like on the iPad and these group chats, they're life ending. Like, I think you heard about that 25-year-old maybe who worked for Teen Vogue, who was like editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue, and at 15 years old made it like a racist or a homophobic tweet. 15. And they fired her, canceled her, blackballed forever.
Oh, from 10 years previous, because now this, is it a girl or guy? He or she's 25, she's working at 25 years old, but now go back 15 years and they found it and sort of basically like
ruined her life.
Wow.
It's like these things that like, or she'll, whatever she gets herself into. And finally I got to the place with this kid where I was like, okay, I've got you in a special program at school. We've got you, with a therapist. We've got you with a psychiatrist for ADD. Like, we've got you with a tutor. We've got like it. And she still would like go lie to me, do that. And I looked at her one day and I said, listen, on my deathbed, all I need to know from myself, Lou, is that I dotted the I's and I crossed the T's and I did the best that I could do for you. And beyond this, you want to go around me, you're going to win. Like, you're working 24/7 to beat me and you're going to win because I got to sleep, dude. I got to live my life. I got to work. Like, you're going to win. You want to go out of the house in this outfit, or you want to say something on your iPad, or you want to watch something you got around me, you caught it on TV, you downloaded it, you found a way, like you got on TikTok, you did all these things, you will win. So whatever you do to yourself, like, I'm going to do my best to make sure you don't get physically hurt, you don't unintentionally hurt someone else. And I'm going to live with that. And I'm going to be good with that, dude. And it was Danica, I don't know what happened, but the minute I like kind of gave up, not on her, but on trying to control, what she saw, what she did, how she, all the tests, the grades went from F's and D's to A's and B's. And I was like, what the heck? Like, and she, she did something and she goes, I wanted to do it, Mom. I fucked up. And I was like, and she's like, I shouldn't have done it. I'm not going to do it again. And I was like, listen, I'm not the perfect mother by any means. And things are not going to be perfect. And I expect many more bumps in the road, but you're right. It was like the minute I kind of was like, okay, I don't feel guilty like I gave up on you. I don't feel like there was something I could have done and I didn't do. And at this point, like,
yeah, you still got to try. We're not saying don't try, but at some point in time, you have to know when to surrender. You gotta know when to let go. And I think that's like a really hard lesson that comes with time.
You just can't control everything. You can't. And it's like, it's that sort of omniscient desire of like, no, I refuse to feel helpless in the world. Like, I will manhandle this. I will make it what it needs to be. And the minute you realize you actually can't, you're not capable. Yeah. That is that serenity prayer, right? Of like, give me the courage to change the things I can. And the wisdom to know that
whatever. Yeah, that one.
Yes, it's that combo. It's that fine line.
Yeah.
And I think in my personal relationships, it's like, all right, I don't want the regret. I'm going to do what I think is right. But beyond that, at some point, you have to let go. You have to. You have no choice.
What about, I feel like this plays into something that I'm really curious about. And I feel like you have a lot of experience seeing this with clients and people that you've worked with. But the effects of trauma and emotional baggage and the body. I kind of have a little bit of a theory that, that some that are overweight that can't lose weight, it's actually like an emotional protection layer associated with, because I think a lot of people, and I'm grateful I'm not one of them, have dealt with a lot of incest or rape or, being molested. And so I think there's a lot of protection layers put on. What have you seen in your time with working with so many people that are dealing with that?
That's so funny. You've brought up the two things that were, so in the kind of needling from my agent, who was my editor in books, I was like, there's only one other thing I would write in the space. And she's like, well, what is it? And I was like, well, it's the reason diets don't work, right? And the answer is not physiological. It can become physiological because it becomes biochemical and neurological as a side effect of repeated emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, which can impact, obviously, your neuroplasticity and your biochemistry. When somebody is using food to the degree that they become 50 pounds overweight, 100 pounds overweight, it's an addiction like any other addiction. So there's a type of therapy called transactional analysis, but essentially it's a decisional model that helps to empower people over time to make different choices and to see the role they play and where they are now. I take umbrage with a lot of the messaging nowadays of like, you're a victim, you're a victim, you're a victim. Because if you're constantly telling somebody that they are a victim of, who knows, diet culture or this, that, or the other, even though, yes, at times we've been victims and yes, we've been marginalized, but if you're always giving that message and then you're co-signing the message of it's okay, you're essentially disempowering someone to make a change. So we make these decisions generally unconsciously to eat more or to be bigger because at one time in our life, it meant our psychological survival. And it could be, right? So it could be that you might have been incested, molested. It could be a protective layer. It could be part of fulfilling something called an injunctive message. So for example, let's say it's, the parent has their own generational trauma, right? And it's like, don't be important. Don't be too successful. And maybe you sabotage it by putting on the weight for those reasons.